Next point. I convince others to share in my sin. This is the most, wow. You know, sa mga disciples ko, they would always hear me. Kung magkakasala ka na lang mag-isa. Diba? Do not try to convince others of your sin, or do not try to infect others with the sickness of sin. And this is the truth. 1 Corinthians 15:32 to 33 NLT version. Alam po natin by background ng Church of Corinth ay, most of them during the epistles or the letters of Paul are being rebuked by Paul because Paul loves them. So when a spiritual leader rebukes you, it's not meant for you to be devalued. O walang intention kami na saktan ka. Actually, ang intention namin is to bring you back to the right path, which is what Paul is doing. So there was this murmuring sa Church of Corinth, and people start to believe the wrong message that comes from God. And Paul said, read with me while you are on mute. And what value was there in fighting wild beasts, those people of Ephesus? So he was referring to the Ephesians na hindi part ng simbahan who are trying to convince others to, believe what they believe. If there will be no resurrection from the dead, and if there is no resurrection, let's feast and drink, for tomorrow we die. So this was their tenet. So sabi ng Apostle Paul, naka-underline, do not be fooled by those who say such things. For bad company corrupts good character. So even if you are good and you opt to engage with bad company, your good character will be corrupted. So when you are already a believer and indulge in a relationship with Satan because you indulge in the flesh and the sin nature, your good character, whatever it has progressed towards to, will definitely be corrupted. So papalpak ka. And people will try to cling on to the ministry to believe that they are still okay. But, in their private lives, they are already entangled in sin. And they will not seek healing or deliverance. They will continue to do what they do. Verse 34, think carefully about what is right and stop sinning. For to your shame, I say that some of you don't know God at all. So remember, bad company will always corrupt good character. Tuloy natin. 1 Corinthians 8:9 to 13 NLT. Read with me while you are on mute. Sabi rito, we are Christians and we know that we are free from sin. We are free to do whatever God wants us to do. And sometimes we are deceived to use our found freedom to lead others to stumble. Sabi rito, but you must be careful so that your freedom does not cause others with a weaker conscience to stumble. For if others see you with your superior knowledge, eating in the temple of an idol, won't they be encouraged to violate their conscience by eating food that has been offered to an idol? So because of your spiritual knowledge, a weak believer for whom Christ died will be destroyed. Destroyed. I'm going to explain that later. This is a literal incident wherein somebody who is advanced in Christianity, will eat at the temple, share in food that has been offered to an idol without thinking na pinagbawal nga ni Lord yun. When an offering is made in terms of food and beverage to an idol, we as believers in the Church of Corinth during that time should not eat that. Tuloy natin. Yun yung background. Verse 12, and when you sin against other believers by encouraging them to do something they believe is wrong, you're sinning against Christ. So if what I eat causes another believer to sin, I will never eat meat again as long as I live. For I don't want to cause another believer to stumble. Diba? And that's very, very important. Now, this is an actual incident wherein this is the concern, eating food that has been offered before an idol by Christians who have been advanced in years doon sa Church of Corinth. Now, let's put this same situation and create a parallelism sa buhay Kristiyano natin ngayon. Remember, a person who commits sin would normally be part of a pair or a group or if they are alone, they would try to convince people sa loob ng simbahan. I remember before the division of the church long ago happened sa SNJ, I told people, please, wag kayong mag-i-indulge sa preaching ng ibang pastor. When I say indulge, I mean absorbing it, believing it, and using it as pure gospel. And then, because it is contrary to what the church, what SNJ is saying, di ba? Because you believe that the leadership ng SNJ is not saying the right thing, you try to seek, a message from a man of God that actually fits your desire. Diba? Sabi nga, they will be itching to hear what the ears want to hear. So, nung ginawa ng mga taong ito, they believe that the leadership ng SNJ during that time was inept, hindi tama, they were being led to, things that is difficult, blah, blah, blah. And when I disciplined them, they split the church in half. Almost half, actually. But the church was not crippled during that time. But because kasi mga leaders na to who influence others to sin, because of that incident, they brought others out of the church to make a point that the leadership of SNJ was wrong. And the leadership of SNJ was, in fact, committing a sin. But you will never see in the Bible that this is God's way of disciplining an erring leader. So yun yung nangyari sa SNJ during that great divide. And imagine, let's say ikaw, mahilig ka manood ng streaming service. Anong tendency mo? You would normally, if you have somebody at home, watch with that person or watch with a group, and you totally forget about the church. If you are doing a video game, you would actually indulge in connecting to people who are not believers, especially kung yung game ay yung katulad ng game ngayon na interactive. Diba? You will meet people doon sa fantasy world na yun, and then you will start to indulge with them. And then you become corrupted. And then people will know, nag-video game ka pala, and doing other things. And then people with a weak conscience will be stumbled. Okay lang pala mag-video kasi si ganito Diba? And that is what's happening sa church natin at sa ibang simbahan. We try to convince ourselves, in the process, convince others to sin with us. And that's really heartbreaking. And pinaka-worst na nakita ko is somebody who is actually in a sin nature trying to influence the people closest to them to stop ministering as well by displaying behaviors na hindi promising and contrary to the great blessings of being in the ministry. And this is a warning to those people sa loob ng church natin, sa ibang simbahan. Matthew 8:6 NLT version. But if you cause one of these little ones to trust in me to fall into sin, it would be better for you to have a large millstone tied around your neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. Those who will lead others to sin, directly or indirectly, there is, a heavier judgment. Kaya we have to be aware of how sin destroys us to the point of us wanting sin to destroy others.